sign and everything, but just some of it and stuff. But yeah, you're right. They did a amazing fast. These are actually beat their own projections by last year.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Did you draw a ceiling plan in Chilliwack?
Remind me to send But yes, we were here, my partner and I, Zvi, he's a builder.
Oh,
We work
okay.
together, and we were here last week. We listened to you and
Okay.
your
Me and
partner.
Charles.
Yes, it was interesting. Yeah.
We have our attorney group is doing their, what is this? Meeting today, but they do all of theirs online. And we never attend or listen or anything, and it's like, okay, maybe we better sit and see what their town hall is.
And you can't be in two places at the same time, so I guess you sent him.
Yeah. Our office is right upstairs, so.
Oh,
it's
yes,
right
so
there.
you're right, convenient.
Yeah. So are you guys doing a lot of homes, or the commercial buildings in Alta Design?
Residential.
Yeah, because I would have loved to get in on some of the commercial work, but nothing, the residential has come through, but not the commercial yet.
And you're interested in more of that, in the commercial work?
Yeah, because normally we do
Check,
commercial.
check, 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 check. Can you guys hear me good? Nice and clear? All right. We let these little kids trickle in. We don't want them to miss any of this magic. All right. In the meantime, how's everybody doing out there? Yeah? You guys are motivated? All right. Well, you should be, because today is my favorite of all. This is where the ideas come to life. This is where you can be creative, and this is one of the greatest design teams assembled. These are architects, interior design specialists, so that you could build a home of your dreams. You guys hear me good? All right. So I'm going to quit the motivation today because we're going to get down to business. All right. So I had met some of you out of this space, and we were having conversations. And, one of the things that I did not want this to be was a place to solicit you guys for any kind of work or business. So I wanted you guys to have a safe space to learn and get educated. And when I explained to someone who's been coming to these town halls and workshops exactly what we do, he said that I was doing an injustice by not letting you guys really understand what we do, because for a minimum, you should know what we do because it's extremely beneficial, and they felt it was. So I thought, okay, I'll run down what exactly we do on our end so that you also have that opportunity to see if that fits what you need. So first, we'd like to get Chris Holden up here whenever we can, but I'll get into my spiel. Okay. So skip all that. After 3 weeks, you figured out who I am. This is the 4th week. So what is Alta Design Works? It's essentially a multidisciplinary coalition. It's formed to help us rebuild smarter, faster, more affordably. Okay, so what we've done is we've went out and we vetted multiple contractors, builders, structural engineers, surveyors, project managers, permits, pulled all their licenses, pulled all their lawsuits, and created a coalition of what we think are some of the best builders, architects, designers in the business. Then what we did is we renegotiated with them and said, okay, we'll bring you in, we'll introduce you to residents, but you got to agree to our terms, you got to agree to residential terms, you got to agree to work within our pricing scheme. This system will work for some people, it may not. If you are trying to build the ultimate home of your dreams and spend 5 years doing it and travel the world to find a door in India and Thailand, we may not be the right group for you. But if you're looking for a coalition of phenomenal architects and designers who all work together, because I've always been telling you, we have to work together. This isn't a competition between the residents, nor should it be a competition between those who provide the services that you need. So we have, and we will continue to find what we feel are some of the top in the business who agree to our terms. These terms include, when we negotiated pricing for you, it shouldn't be the contractor gets that. I didn't spend 6 months negotiating deals so the contractor make more money. So they agree to purchase within the collective and pass those savings on to you. My assumption is you're not going to pocket money. You're just going to build the better home that you want. And that is my entire hope and dream, is that we don't have a bunch of modular homes that look all the same and feel all the same, because that's what we can afford. So the idea is that you're going to be able to build the home you deserve and not the one that you can afford. Who is Alta Design Works? It's this team that is the vetting process. A lot of the people that have spoken are part of this team. Like Aaron Brummer, you know, he's got a master's degree from Harvard's University School of Architecture. Some of these guys are here. These are kind of the vetting team, kind of the guys who have been plugging away. And these are some of the contractors that we have vetted, some of the architects we have vetted, some of the pre-construction management teams we have vetted. They all will operate, all operate and have built together. However, as a coalition, we're able to match the right architect to the right home builder. You know, what happens is you want to build a Spanish modern home, you meet an architect, he's going to probably take that job on, but maybe that's not his specialty. So when you come in, what we do is we interview you, we take a look at all your insurance, try to identify any gaps, try to find additional money, try to find additional grants, try to pull money from the state, create as big as a pile that we can if you have an SBA loan or things of that nature, and kind of find all the money there. Then what we do is we kind of go through a lot of questions, because this home is a lot more than just where you lay your head. It may be where your grandchildren live. You might have an elderly mom who wants an ADU or lives within the room. You know, so you got to ask these questions to get a better understanding what the home is. I spoke to one person. She said, listen, my father's on his last leg. As soon as he passed, I'm going to sell the home. So build me a home that's going to be worth the most money at the time, because I'm not going to live in it. So how can I build a home that's going to be most valuable? So those are the type of things that we like to ask questions on. Some builders and contractors and architects may not want to provide certain information to you because it only benefits them. We are resident advocates. We don't advocate for the contractors and builders. We actually, you know, crack the whip on them collectively. And that's the strategy. Collective purchasing, collective movement. Yep. All right. I'm not going to get into too much details, but what we do is this. You come in completely for free. We've got the architects, the contractors, designers, structural engineer to agree for free to go to your property and get a real assessment of the property. Because if a builder doesn't go to your property, how do you know if you need a retaining wall, if you need clearances or things of that nature? Because what we believe is you're going to have a pile of money and that's it. There's no change orders. If you ask for another 50 grand, then I'm not going to have a door or a roof. So we can't play the games with residents. The idea is this is how much you got. Build me the best damn home with the best builders, with the best design, using the best material. Go negotiate better cabinets. Go negotiate a better door. That's the strategy that we're using, which is to benefit the rebuild back. I was born here. I was raised here. I plan on dying here, and I want to live in a beautiful city. And I think everybody here on this board agrees. What's the catch? There is no catch. The catch is we're going to rebuild back our community. We're on a mission to build back Altadena more beautiful, more sustainable, and get everybody back home. You shouldn't be forced out of your home because you're a survivor of a disaster. All right? So that's what we do. If you want that free consultation for a minimum, you come get a bid. At least you have something to go to your builder and architect and say, hey, I got a bid for this. Can you match it? You don't have to hire us. I want to arm you with the most weapons. And then for a minimum, go, hey, you know, you seem too high or you seem too low, which is also scary. Because I've had guys come in, they bid you low, and then come find out it doesn't include doors, a roof, windows, things of that nature. So arm yourself with knowledge. And this is the reason why we've been doing this workshop. So first is a guy who hates that I like to brag about him, but unfortunately he's also an Altadena resident, okay? And unfortunately he also lost his home. He has been an educator at Cornell. Oh, he actually got a master's degree in the history of architecture from Cornell University, a bachelor's degree of architecture from the University of Notre Dame. He's been a lecturer at USC, Woodbury University, Iowa State University, Boston Architectural College, SciArc, and Art Center College of Design. We got really, really lucky to have him. He was at major respected firms, but lastly, he was the DLR Group K through 12 schools architect and decided to retire. And then immediately thereafter, the fires kicked in and he lost his home. So Altadena is trying to pull our very own talented architect out of retirement to help us rebuild the community. So it's truly an honor to have Mark Stankard.
Okay, so I can, oh, there we go. Okay, hi everyone. So I guess I'm just going to share my experience. So I just retired 2 weeks ago. So I kind of, I was going to say I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know if any of you are retired, but it's like a new thing and it's pretty cool. And but now I'm ready to design a house, at least for myself, a new house, and maybe for others. My wife and I, we lived on Anna Maria Drive, which is just north of Loma Alta. So we were pretty high up near the mountains. And we knew we were in a very high fire hazard zone. We had our documents for if there's a fire, you grab this and I'm going to grab this. And we actually did that. And I got to say we were kind of prepared and expected it. But as you all, I'm sure many of you have experienced it. It's tough. So we had a house built in 1951, like a mid-century modern house. This is the view from the street. The property slopes down away from the street, so it was like a story and a half. We were in the process of converting our garage to, my wife's a ceramic artist, so we were about halfway done, which is, difficult, but that we were kind of in process there. And so, yeah, you guys have, I don't want to show too much of this stuff, but I'll just say as an architect, I was offended that our house burned in some weird way, it doesn't make any sense, but it was and so I was okay, I want to reproduce what we had. And I've talked to neighbors. Our street had 12 houses on it, which they all burned. But my neighbors are we want to reproduce our house exactly. And I was well, I've been in your house. I think you could do better, But that was my first thought, And our house had, very shallow roof, not good. It had 5-foot wood overhangs, not good. Had original glass, mostly 1/8-inch, big panes of glass, which I bet, busted right away. We were not a very fire-resistant house. So, but I was really into our foundations. I've done some archaeology digs, and I was okay, we have an archaeological site on our property here. And, like you were mentioning, retaining walls. So these old foundations were holding the earth back, and I thought maybe we could build new walls within those walls. And we talked to the Army Corps. We stood there. I was a bit emotionally attached to my foundations, which is also kind of weird. But so anyway, we ended up not doing it. There were 8 of us there, walking around, and it just didn't make sense. So anyway, we have a nice cleared lot, which most people have, and these 2 trees survived in the front. They don't look very good in this photo, but they're coming back. So that this is where we are. What do I? Oh yeah. So we had the 1951 drawings from this house. It's an architect named Graham Wilson designed it, and we don't want to do too much different than that. It's a 1,400 square feet upstairs, and then it's got a walkout basement in the backyard that's another 600 square feet that my wife had. She's a photographer also, had her studio. So I would almost be happy, reproducing that. But I'm working on a design for something different. And, I'll just share that we were up high north in a very high fire hazard zone, right? So I am really loath to build anything that has any type of wood on the exterior. Our neighbor down the street had a house he built 3 years ago, and it had a Class A roof and stucco and sprinklers and Vulcan vents, and it did not survive, No. And so I don't want to be like a bummer, but as an architect, I really want to build a house that has CMU probably, and a corrugated steel roof, and that sounds concrete masonry units. So the standard stuff. So you would think that is like cheap, and this is what like Walmarts are built out of, and it doesn't sound very beautiful, but I know as an architect, I can make something beautiful out of those, let's call them raw materials, and maybe we would stucco the exterior. But I have a tendency to maybe make the CMU like that really like textured, and like let the mortar seep out of the joints, kind of like an FU to any fire that could come my way again, like you're not getting in here. I don't know. So I'm torn, as you can probably tell. And I'll just say we don't really have we're insured, but we don't really have enough to rebuild right now, but maybe we do in the future. And since I'm retired, I have time to work on it and think about it. And, I want to do a house that has we had a 1 to 12 roof, to do like a 6 to 12 roof that has corrugated steel and CMU, and probably can't afford triple glazed glass, but double glazed glass. And, and kind of do it right and do it carefully and keep it small, 2,000 square foot maximum. And that's kind of our plan. So we're going to take our time to do that and kind of see what happens.
Your street is.
You do?
Yes, it's a short street. And
Yeah, right by the school.
on the next, yeah, on the whole west.
Yeah,
Family on the next street up, mine,
yeah,
right here.
yeah.
So I understood steel roofs were only allowed on aircraft hangars in LA County.
Is this what? Say it again?
I understood that steel roofs were only allowed on aircraft hangars in LA County.
Oh, no, you can do steel roof. There's different kinds too. There's really nice kind of flattish steel, but there's also the industrial kind of corrugated. So I don't know. I've done schools with them as well.
Yeah, there's actually a new
yeah.
house in our neighborhood that survived the fire that was just built, and it has standing rib metal roof.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
acceptable.
So I think for now that's my story, and I just wanted to share that, and I just kind of firmly believe that it's good to change it up. You're forced to at this point, right? But to have, to enjoy the space of your house. We don't have anything left. We did get some stuff in our cars, but to kind of become a minimalist and enjoy space and more space, less stuff maybe, and be open to something new, and that can also be beautiful.
Are you on the north side or south side of the street?
South, the smaller lots on the south, yeah.
So on the north side is the gully where water is.
That's right. That's right across from our house, yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
You have a storied career, storied education in architectural design. You've built amazing projects over decades. How do you feel now in this position, being a survivor versus being an architect? And are you struggling in any way?
Well, yeah, I guess the answer is of course I'm struggling, but it's like kind of like the pressure's on when you're like older and you're going to build your own house, which I've never done before. I've done additions and things. It's kind of like you better do it really well, so people come by and say, oh, that's really cool. So a little bit, but I'm trying to remove myself from having it be my house, which is also kind of challenging, to just kind of not be so emotional about it or romanticize it too much. I don't know, kind of like I meditate a lot. So is there some way to step outside of myself and do a beautiful house and also consider resale. You know, you got to think about that too. But make it so my wife Laura and I, it's our house, and she's a designer as well. But it's also, I don't know, an Altadena house. You know, because all of our houses kind of belong to the whole city in some way, and so somehow not be like starting from the inside and working out, but kind of starting from the outside and working in.
We have a lot of residents who are, you know, traumatized through this, and I don't want them to lose their resilience and inspiration, and more so creativity. You know, like, you have an opportunity to rebuild your dream. What advice would you give the residents who are in that position?
Well, I guess don't be in like I'm in survival mode in a way, right? So you can come from that like, I just need a roof, man, and some air conditioning. And a bathroom, you probably need that too.
And an certificate of occupation.
Yeah, but don't settle for just kind of doing the bare bones here, you know, and that doesn't mean big, and it doesn't mean it's got, you know, marble in it, whatever. It can be a very basic house, but make it like, you know, your own, and also don't forget about aging. Maybe you want to age in place, right? Or you want to have ADA access to the bathroom, right? Like, don't think that's a super luxury. That's something that everybody can do, and it's worth doing now. And energy savings and all that kind of stuff. You know, don't skip the basics just because you're in recovery survival mode. Try to be like, you know, I can have an amazing house. And again, and it doesn't have to be big. You can have an amazing house that's not that big.
Altadena lends itself to that too, because a lot of the smallish and oddball shaped lots.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And we also have so much outdoor space. Like I don't know if you have a landscape architect in your crew, but you know, the smaller the house, the bigger the outdoor space you have, and we're in California, and so, you know, we all live outdoors, but you can really push that, you know.
And let me get into that, because I'm a big advocate. We come from the Middle East, and we mostly live outside. Outdoor living is critical. Outdoor living also doesn't increase your square footage to your home, and it also doesn't increase your tax burden. What, with this beautiful weather that we have throughout the year, what form of inspiring ideas do you have for outdoorish living?
I don't know. I don't think you need a pool. I shouldn't say that, but like we used to, we think, okay, someday we're going to get a pool. Like that, I don't think there's public pools, and that's kind of a waste of square footage to me. But I don't know. I think this is the whole California architecture kind of cliche, indoor, outdoor, right? Sliding glass doors where your ceiling kind of comes out to make a shade area there, and those spaces that are kind of partially inside, partially outside. I think those are really the best ones, the really beautiful ones. And you can be out there. I don't know. We had a little fire pit thing, and we would go out there in January, and that was like better than being inside all the time. So I think there's so much you can do, you know, that's not typical.
Excellent.
Somebody had a quick.
Yeah, to that.
I don't want to take up all the space here, but
To your point about having an outdoor covered patio,
yeah,
obviously, you know, with overhangs and stuff being a, you know, fire hazard.
Yeah.
Ask this question of the fire department, doesn't matter, like carports and covered patios, how do you design those so that they aren't a fire risk? Is it just the materials, or is it partly the design of them?
yeah. When you have open space like that, then embers can get in there and set the thing on fire. I mean, you have to sprinkler them, which is like, you know, more money. But if you have a solid roof like that, I think you're obliged to by code now anyway, just like you are from the inside. So you have to sprinkler it, but you can also use, you know, canvas and umbrellas creatively, and kind of low cost things like that as well. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we had a similar situation where it was a mid-century with a flat roof, and I'm wondering what you said about making the roof pitch. Is that just so like embers would fall off them? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yes. I heard and we architects are talking, you know, what's the minimum slope roof, and it's like, I think it's like 6 to 12, you know, and it needs to be, I think, metal, or it could be clay tile, but where an ember could hit it and fall off, you know. And it sounds like very simplistic, but I think that matters a lot. But also, you know, when you have that and not having attic spaces and having vents where flames can get in, so you can have a high ceiling, right? Which might mean you have some exposed ductwork, which can be really great if it's designed well. So I think, like, to me, it's interesting that like this decision kind of maybe leads to this and that leads to this, and kind of let it go versus saying I got to have my inside be like this. I don't know. I'm thinking starting from the outside and coming in and making like a hard shell, like a hard, there's a phrase like a hard shell, soft core, you know, so on the interior, you could almost do anything, right? If you're keeping the flames out.
I got a follow-up question. During COVID, we had something called herd immunity. That means if the more people got vaccinated, the less and less that there would be a spread. Is that possible in fire defense? Meaning the more homes that are defended, the less likely the town burns down?
I think so. I think, yeah. If I was to build whatever my little dream shell here, and my neighbors had, you know, all wood building, you know, I would not be happy. So yes, I think that does matter, but we can't, it's too much to like regulate that specifically, but yes, I think that matters quite a bit.
All right. We've got some amazing talent.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. You mentioned something about going from double glazed to triple glazed windows. And I was just curious about whether that really makes a big difference. And I say that because I've seen a couple of our neighbors whose houses survive with houses burning on either side in very close proximity, and their double glazed windows survive. The outer panes cracked or shattered,
Yeah.
but the inner panes held.
Yeah. I think there's a wide range of windows, right? And you can get double pane that has, I don't know, 2 1/4-inch panes with a 3/4 of an inch between that has like a gas in it. I mean, you can get double pane that's fire resistant, but the triple pane is like the super, you know, no guarantees, but it costs almost twice as much. Yeah.
All right.
So there are treatments like shutters you could do or whatever?
I think shutters would be cool, but I don't know. If you're on, like my neighbor, 2 of my people on my street were on vacation when the fire happened, and they didn't call their friend or neighbor and say, "Can you close my fire shutters?" I don't know. I think that's fundamentally a good idea, but it's not a bulletproof. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have a fun one?
Yeah.
Australia, they've got shutters with lead holes, so that when it gets hot, it drops down.
Yeah.
They have those in buildings too. When you have a big school, sometimes when you divide it by, there's a fire rating, and they have interior ones. They very slowly come down when they're ignited by the fire. So then you have to go like in the opposite direction. But yeah. But then, you know, you have to, is that going to really work in that huge fire? It's like, I don't know.
And that's really the question. I mean, to what level would any of this help? Yeah. You know, with the fire that ran through us, we don't know.
Yeah.
And my big trees are gone, so that's a big one.
I know.
Big trees weren't the problem.
They were big pines.
I am very excited about our next speaker. She had reached out to us and went through our tough vetting process, and then we uncovered a complete gem. Mikhail Bryson, she's licensed design residential planning and design firm based out of Southern California in Calabasas. She has 2 decades of experience. She worked across broad spectrum of architectural disciplines, from large-scale public infrastructure projects to luxury multifamily developments. What I love about her is that she wants you to build an incredible home, and we're very, very excited to have her. Mikhail Bryson.
Good evening. So, as Freddy said, I've been designing homes for a little bit over 20 years now. I started my career in New York doing multifamily, but when I moved to California, I figured the lifestyle here is a single-family home. Was the first one I ever lived in and owned, and automatically was drawn to designing single-family homes. We are really feeling close to this community, being in Calabasas, surviving some of the previous fires that happened a few years back, actually still working on some fire rebuilds in the Malibu and Aurora Hills area from the Woolsey fire. So some of these projects move slow, some are more complicated depending on site conditions that are a bit more close to the mountains or natural areas and not so urbanized. And we are working with quite a few clients recently from this area that come from different backgrounds and have different needs and are looking for a new way to live. Some are young that purchased their homes somewhat recently and thought that was their dream home, and now being faced with the reality of needing to rebuild something, most are actually thinking, actually not different than what you're saying, Mark. It's that they had different needs, and now that they have the opportunity to think about building from scratch, they are rethinking their original decision about what they had. Most people want a little more space, and they are taking advantage of the fact that that's allowed now, and within budget, of course. Some come more prepared in terms of the style that they're looking to build, and some really don't have an idea and just feel comfortable with rebuilding the same style house that they had prior. So for example, we had a client come to us with the idea of somewhat the like-for-like concept that goes on around now that supposedly makes the process a little easier. And as we were working through their questions, just a startup point of what is it that you're looking to do, what was missing in your previous home, what would you have done if you had to, an opportunity to rethink this. And they actually ended up starting from scratch, not being confined by the exact lot restrictions that they purchased a few years ago, and are doing a little different. A house that's a little bigger and stylistically different than what they had before. So as an example, actually I'll show you on the next slide the floor plan, but yes. So the floor plan is of a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, but that same floor plan, other than the different site conditions, can be dressed up, previous one, with the 2 different architectural styles. Exact same floor plan, you can create, a more of an English Tudor or a Spanish Mediterranean. You get what you wanted. You have the opportunity to explore a design from a professional that can visually show you what that looks like, because you don't have the opportunity to go to an open house and walk that space and see if you like the arches more than the square rooms. Do you like the crafty details of a home or a more clean modern look? So having the opportunity to do this now, even though challenging and most people didn't ever expect to be faced with these challenges and questions, and it is a refreshing opportunity for some to, after the shock, to take advantage of what you can do now. So we work with clients from the beginning and talk about their needs. We put that on paper. We, of course, do all their reviews in terms of zoning restrictions. We educate the people about what is allowed and what might not be, even though it might be on their wish list. And then we work with 3D modeling programs that we have access to explore different styles, different materials. We try different visual effects for, making it personal. Some people like the light, white, dark trim kind of look, and some look for the more natural materials, earthy stones and warmer colors, different materials. So we explore all of that. And the next slide, actually, that's a house that survived the Pacific Palisades fire that we actually collaborated on a couple of years back. And we can take credit to say that the upgrades that we did is the reason it survived. Some houses on that street did and some did not. They had 0 damage, and a lot of the upgrades that were done, because it is already in a fire hazard zone, and we are expert in that because in the area that we live, the entire community is a fire hazard zone. So that's our baseline. We always design with a material on the exterior that is fire resistant, and we avoid vents, for example, that are the cause of some of those fires igniting or spreading quickly. So we use even materials that look like the traditional siding, but they're fiber cement boards. A lot of the homes are stuccoed, and we provide a 1-hour fire assembly. So we have the expertise to give you a solid, resilient home, but of course we never ignore the design aspect. We try and make it personal. We try and make it appealing and fit the neighborhood in terms of scale and style. And that can be achieved in many different ways. So that's just one example. We talked about exterior spaces. Yes, this weather that we have and lucky to enjoy almost year round, the house doesn't need to be huge. You need to have the spaces that you, of course, fit your family, and maybe you want a little more for family guests. Every now and then kids come back, family gets old, but outdoor spaces are a real extension of your living space. And opening up the indoor to outdoor and making that transition feel like you don't have to be either or, because it kind of feels like it's one big space, is something we really put a lot of thought into. We also use the materials that tie the interior space and the outside space together, of course, so they all feel like they always belong together. That's an example of another somewhat smaller, more, comfortable style, casual home. That was a 4-bedroom, 4.5-bath that would, pretty easily fit in this neighborhood when it's rebuilt. It's not a big house. It's modest in scale. It is very, open to the street. There's no big fences or gates that you might find in other communities, because this community was all about, the smaller scale homes that you just felt like you know everyone and you were moving around from one to the next. Again, in terms of design and interior finishes, that's a very personal choice. We never dictate as designers what a homeowner should do. We always ask you to provide your inspiration images, your photos of your older homes. We try and recreate what you felt connected to, but it is also a time to, upgrade and bring in what's more current and definitely resilient and maintenance-free, maybe, that some of the older homes didn't take for granted when they were built. That's a little bit more of a modern twist on a mid-century. The eaves are small, there are no vents. The material, again, is hardy panel, which is a fiber cement board. And even the wood exterior and some of the other features, those are all cladded around a 1-hour fire-rated assembly. So the actual structural system of the home is fire resistant, and then it's kind of dressed up in a way that makes it personal.
So, I have a question.
Yes.
Is there an attic in this building or no attic?
No, that one specifically did not. The one before that, the one with the little gable roofs, this does. But the attic is enclosed within the exterior walls. So the overhang of the roof is just an articulation. It's like an architectural effect. There's no actual access, but there is attic space for mechanical systems.
Or
And
are there vents in the attic?
there
To
are,
vent out the heat.
so yes, there are products these days that fit either within the shingles themselves or clay tile roof or metal roofs that are fire resistant. There are quite a few companies that provide that. They are seamless. They integrate with the roofing material. You don't see them. It's not like these old big vents that you see on commercial buildings on the older homes. So yes, if there is an attic space, it is vented. It's through the ridge of the roof for the heat to escape, and through a series of other smaller elements for air to go in. So there is current circulation in there, yes, all the time. Some houses don't have any attic space. The rafter materials of the roof is the ceiling material, and then just the insulation is strapped in there. But there are different ways to design. It also depends on the height of the ceilings, and if you want to build a taller home or a little bit smaller, shorter home. We can get a lot more technical. Again, just a couple more examples. It's kind of the same materials because those are fire resistant, applied in different ways. again, exterior extension of the outdoor space as the outdoor to the living. And I think when you work with a designer who's been working on projects that are in fire hazard zones, but has a design sensibility, you get the full package. You get the attention to your personal needs, your attention to design on the interior, and then how it extends to the outside. So you get enjoy both worlds. You have a solid product that would last, hopefully, the next fire, although this one was massive and whipped through quickly. I also doubted what I do for a while after that fire, because we try so hard and we follow a lot of regulations. Some of them, when we are frustrated through the process, we question if they make any difference, because then a fire like this comes through, doesn't matter what we do, almost nothing survived. But then one house that we did survive, and then we keep asking ourselves, was that enough? Is that the reason it survived? Could we have done the same for others that, you know, we never maybe had the opportunity to? Would they have survived? So it's a tough field to be in when a disaster like this happens, but we're happy to give back and have this opportunity to let people enjoy something new and fresh that they could live in for years. Yes, it all comes together at the end with the function is what you want the house to serve for you, the beauty inside and outside, the materials, the personalization that you choose to apply to your house, and of course making it resilient, hopefully, for the next one. Thank you.
Amazing. That was inspirational. I'm ready to build. Who's ready to build? All right. We all are. We're ready to get back on. And damn it, anyone have an amazing question? Only amazing questions. All right. Better be good.
So I'm sure everyone has a perspective on this, but as architects, you know, there's an investigation into the cause of the fire, but is there a specific inquiry as to, as you were saying, which houses survived, which didn't? Certainly know that houses that had like really tight setbacks, it was house to house that was causing the fire. But our neighbor, you would never guess which of his two houses. He had two houses on his property. One burned, it was an old Sears catalog home. The one that didn't burn looks like a box of matches. Like it's just 100 years old, wood, it's open, didn't burn. So is there, you know, as architects, it would seem like you would be good to look at these individual studies. Is it the lot? Is it the house? Is it, you know, different things? So that we can know in future, you know, what can you do in addition to the fire-resistant materials that will help the community build back safer?
So I think it's not one thing. It's obviously a combination of all of those factors together. And a little bit of all of those put together will probably make a difference. Some of it, all of you are going to be forced to comply with, which are the different setbacks now, and the need to put fire sprinklers and the need to build their homes to be fire resistant. So I think we touched on it before. If everybody does all of those things that come together, I think the community will be a longer lasting one. Yes, it's hard to pinpoint whether one house survived or not based on its architectural style or design or features. It's hard to say. On the same street, the one I showed you survived, 2 streets down, we had a bigger house that had the clay roof that is supposedly a lot more resistant and would last you a lifetime, that did not. And both are on a hillside. One had a downslope, you know, what the fire probably came from below and entered through the basement. And this one has a descending slope in the backyard that, I don't know, did the fire skip over? We ask ourselves, the homeowners ask themselves, you know, they have a house, it's not burned, it's standing there. will they go back now that the neighbors are not there? For a while they couldn't, now they can go back. There's a lot of elements that go into a community outside of your house, and I think it's gonna be a combination of a personal attention to details, and some of it is gonna be just enforced by the regulations that we're all gonna have to just meet now.
I'm gonna chime in here, because I don't know if this was a once in a lifetime fire, because, you know, I saw some of these palm trees shoot an ember that way, and just by mere luck, it landed there, and maybe the wind just didn't hit that. And I don't know if it's a once in a lifetime, or is this the new normal? You know, is Arcadia next? Because they were up in the hill just like Altadena. Is La Cañada next? Is Bradbury next? You know, we don't know. So I'm not an architect, but I just felt like that fire was so vicious. You know, I guess the only thing we can do, once again, is collectively protect each other, because once one house caught on fire, it had a better chance that the houses next to it is going to burn, versus that ember, you know, shooting through the air and landing and that house defending itself. Because it seemed like the homes burned in clusters, you know, versus, you know, burn and then no burn, then burn, then no burn. So, you know, hopefully this talented team is going to help us build back better. Any other questions?
I know for me, our house, the street goes like on a cliff. So the house above us, when the fires came, and that's why it fell onto our house. So I spent most of my night trying to save their house, because the wind was their house was burning my house. And I spent my whole time trying to save their house, because but I couldn't, obviously. It came from the back.
Yeah.
To me, it's like an act of God first. That phrase has been around for a long time, but you can't like set that aside. And then it's like, you know,
Yeah.
wind and, you know, weather, we can't control that. So it's like we can do some things,
Yes.
but they seem like puny compared to like what you're talking about, this huge thing that we face in the future.
And it's not a once in a lifetime
Yeah.
fire, because it happens every 5 years here or so. There was a huge one in Northern California that took down a whole town.
Yeah.
And a few years back, it ripped from the mountains of Santa Monica down in Malibu all the way across the freeway, and then, you know, the other side, and
Into
hundreds
the
of
ocean.
hundreds of miles of, you know, acres, thousands of acres burned down, and not all of it was populated. Some of it was just natural, you know, landscape, but it didn't distinguish between where it's passing. So
And there's been a lot of outside the law stuff. There's a lot of these utility companies where the reason that the major fires have burned down. So hopefully we can get them to act more responsible. I know that Edison is going to put our lines underground and charge us, but there has to be some corporate responsibility.
So I can speak louder. Mark, you mentioned like umbrellas and stuff like that. I travel through Denver International a lot, and that's like architectural
Yes.
fabric, the whole thing, right? Are there, for homeowners, like I envision a living space, outdoor living space, made up of 2 walls of the house, but you know, how do you cover it? And is that to code architectural fabrics? Is that just not part of the design?
Yeah.
Are there fabrics that are useful and economical, or have you looked at any of that kind of stuff?
Well, I'll just say I've done schools almost my whole life, and so and obviously they have to be as safe as anything, you know, or the safest thing. So they do make fabric structures that are like approved by the state of California, that are somehow chemically treated and rated like clothing is rated, you know. So yeah, that can span like 16 feet. So I can't remember the names of the companies, but you can definitely find.
You can keep that in your design space.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's worth it, and they're cheap too, you know. And you have to replace them every 5 years or so because they'll deteriorate. But yeah, that does exist. People use them for their carports, you know, all the time too.
Yeah, and also it's not enclosed space, so it's not adding to your square footage, it's not adding to your tenants.
Yeah, and they make them that you can retract and pull. You know, like those things are cool and affordable, I think.
I have a site up in Altadena, but whatever might, and then I'm just elevated a little bit. Whatever happens during that wind time, it's like a little tornado for me. Nothing would hold off. I mean, don't you guys?
Yeah.
We get some winds here. But I don't know if the fabric would, I'm just kidding, the umbrellas
big scale.
So I've got a question. You were talking about CMU. What are your thoughts about the structural foam block that's then filled with concrete and potentially with rebar?
Yeah, I've seen those online, and I've seen them being built. I don't know. I've been told that those are not very earthquake resistant, which the building codes kind of take care of. You don't have to hire a super special structural engineer to make sure of that. But I don't think people build with those very much around here. I've seen those in Texas where they don't have very many building codes. So I don't know.
The one that I heard advertised at least said that it was earthquake proof resistant,
Yeah.
to an earthquake of 9, which
Okay.
is
Major.
obviously
Yeah.
significant. But we actually visited a home. It's not here in town, and we were very impressed by what we saw and the ease of construction and also the ease of renovating that you can cut into the wall and it's.
Yeah.
So I've been to, approached by multiple companies, and from everything from 3D printing to different like alleged paint that is can stop things, specialized concrete, Ecocrete, and things of that nature. The only concern that I had, or the reason why I really have felt a hesitancy to present it to the residents, was most of them were startups. A lot of them said, well, yeah, and if you get me a grant for the funding, I can help ramp things up. And it's just like, for me to lend my, endorsement to something, just personally, I had hesitancy, but I do feel that there's a lot of new technology, a lot of new things. I mean, at some point, things are going to have to be new. The problem is do we take the shot at it now, which could be a good option, or do we wait a few years to see how it pans out? I mean, is this concrete going to crack in a few years? Because I've heard about that, and some of them use them in Florida, then like 2-3 years later, it just cracks throughout. So I think technology will be our friends, but I'll leave that to the architects to respond if someone wants to jump on that.
I've not used that product before. We've been approached by a few clients who are interested in it, so we've done our research about it. And yes, there are good products, one of them being the foam block, kind of a Lego structure, and it is produced in quantities and supposedly very easy to assemble. What we have found challenging is finding the labor for it. So everybody here in Southern California is trained in wood because we have plenty of it. And it's a very easy material and not expensive material to work with, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. I'm sure this material is trying to come up with the same advantages maybe that we are used to seeing, or that we find comfort in building something that we know. And there are people that are trying it out. It has been done in the San Diego area, for example, a few times, and we've seen those houses. You're right, when they're all finished, you can't really tell the difference. They're on the inside it's drywall, on the outside it's stucco or whatever, something similar. So yes, those are beautiful homes. And on a different note, I'm also from the Middle East originally. We don't have wood. We build with block wall, and it could be fire and earthquake resistant at the same level, because we also have plenty of earthquakes in that area. So if used correctly, you can achieve what you're saying. I think at some point the cost will be an issue because the product is somewhat new. To get it earthquake proof somewhat, it has to be filled with more concrete, and the weight becomes an issue. Then renovating and cutting through it is not as flexible anymore because it's not hollow like the product we started with. So we are open to exploring opportunities to build for clients that really want that. I just think there's going to be a little bit of a challenge in terms of the timeline and the cost at the end of the day.
What happens with plumbing and like if something happens, what happens?
It's a hollow block that is ready for all those systems to go through it. Once you finish it and wrap it up, it's buried in the wall like any other wall. And actually, I don't honestly know in terms of the longevity, in terms of problems that eventually occur in homes because of movement or just, time, how easy it is to fix those in that type of construction. I said I have no personal experience with it. Those companies do claim that it would give you all the benefits that another wood structure, wood structure would.
They
But
could break into it and fix, because it happens like
yes,
ASUR.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, you have to. At some point, you're gonna have to repair that product, just like you would have to repair another product. Yeah.
Then find somebody to do it.
Yes,
All right,
exactly.
I'll get to your question, then I have another all-star speaker.
My question is for Freddie and actually the whole panel. We're doing an all-electric house. We're just getting rid of all the gas and gas cooking and everything. And I'm wondering, are you making an effort to urge people to switch to all-electric? Because I know my parents personally, they evacuated from the fire and they drove by a house that they saw explode in fire, and they think it was from the gas lines lighting from the inside. I know for days after the fire, during the fire, the gas lines were still burning.
So there's an absolute huge movement to go all electric. There's a new fixtures. You can see an entire granite top that you would just assume is your regular island that turns right into your stove. There's going to be a tremendous amount of benefits to going all electric. I mean, the only people that I see truly resisting are like chefs, like real chefs on the gas, but I'll go to the architects on that issue.
No, I think you're right, exactly. Even setting fire aside, it's energy efficient, much more energy efficient.
Like chimneys are out, things of that nature. It's real big movement, and possibly policy.
And you are required to put solar on your roofs. It's been waived, but
It has to be solar ready.
Every other week. But if you were to choose to put solar on your roof, you would offset the cost or most of the cost of your electric, whatever utility bill you have at that point. So.
Well, that's my concern is the cost of the utilities. I mean, we all know that electric unit pricing is gonna go way up.
Yeah.
If we go all electric, how do we heat the place?
So the cost of gas is much cheaper than electric.
I'm with you there.
Do you know about
Like cost for your gas dryer and your hot water heater.
So I brought this up last week's meeting, California Energy Smart Homes. They will provide $7,500, up to $7,500 to have you go all electric. We just did that last May, and we got rid of all the gas and everything. Our house is still standing, luckily. Everything around us is burned down, but we went with them. We went with heat pump water heater, heat pump AC, Linux, heat induction range, which was, man, the best thing you could ever want, and dryer. We had gas, and so we sold all our gas appliances, since the water heater was trash. But we were able to get $7,500 from the state of California to help us do that conversion. So we actually ended up getting all new appliances. Now we have no gas. We also have solar on the roof, so with that 8-kilowatt system, we're still overproducing. And electric's going to go up no matter what. So I think you've got to. I think solar is really definitely the way to go.
It's probably time to do it too. It's going to be the most cost effective. And collectively, we will have a program in place where we collectively work on getting one solar provider who's going to really bring down the cost.
Wasn't it said last week that gas-burning fireplaces will be allowed? Wood.
Won't. You can't build with a fireplace. Gas fireplace. Grandfather. So if you had one in your home, you can put one back.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know
You
that.
can
about
only
that.
have a direct vent gas. Only direct vent gas. Oh, really? Yeah. Not.
How many still used? I mean, I had a fireplace in my house, but I never used it. Just I didn't feel. I did when I was a kid, but I didn't feel like burning stuff in the home was
We used
reasonable.
ours a lot. We loved it.
Oh, you used it. Okay.
We burned wood and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not allowed.
Okay.
Well, gas,
All right, I want to get into our next world-renowned homegrown champion. We're very, very honored for her to be in Pasadena. She's a certified interior designer. She's certified aging in place specialist. She has over 35 years experience in interior design, architecture, and construction. She leads a full-time service firm in residential, commercial, civic, and supportive housing projects. She's overseen design construction for major clients, including the Hilton, Johnny Rockets, Los Angeles Unified School District, Bridge Housing. Her education is from Drake University School of Architecture, University of Seville School of Applied Arts from Spain. She, her credentials are through the roof. We could spend probably the next day going through some of her work, but we're very honored to have Linnell Bryant.
Thank you. You make me sound so fantastic. I love her. You know. But, so we covered the architecture, and I like to go over the interiors and the finishes and the whole aesthetics. But one thing I do want to say is that, and you said it so eloquently last week, and I've been using this like I invented it, but this is a process. And so sometimes when we're doing our, we're not understanding the length of time and all the emotions that go into design and rebuilding. We're not giving ourselves ample time to mourn and grieve through the phases the way we need to. Because, you're fine, and then you're not fine. And then, then you're fine, and you're not fine. And all of that's okay. And so we need to, I like to start off by giving you permission to just be in those feelings when you need to, and because it is a process. I also like to bring up one of the first things I learned when I started interior design, and I was working for a residential designer in the Valley, and she said, darling, I always have to tell my clients, if they're having problems in their marriage, this is not the time. This is not the time. And so that's very real. You're talking about building something, and homes and structures they have so many deep meanings for each of us. And we may not even know how to address that, but when you're talking, one time when my husband and I first moved into our first house, I had the mindset that the television doesn't belong in the living room. And he had the mindset that the television belongs in the living room. And so, and we only had one TV. And we had a family room and we had a living room. And so I remember bringing in the TV and I put it in the family room, and I come back and it's sitting in the living room. And then I push it back to the family room, I come back and it's in the living room. And so we end up in the hallway, both pushing the TV into the rooms that we wanted. And we sat there on top of that big TV at the time, because that's what those TVs were. Because we both had a vision of what it meant, and it was tied into all of this baggage, and then we had, am I the man of the house? Am I the man? Are you respecting me as a woman of the house and what I need? And all of that, and so be prepared for that, and understand that sometimes it seems major, but there might be something you need to step back for a minute and really address what really is going on here, So, just food for thought. What you're going on right now is a very personal journey, and I like to start. We have an architecture and interior design firm. We opened in 1996. We're upstairs, and our focus has always primarily been in commercial projects, and we'll do housing, but housing as it relates to commercial. So we've done, we actually began our business because of got plenty of our work as of the earthquakes in 1984. We were all boom, 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 working. And we did a lot of inspections and things for homes that needed to be red tagged in Palmdale and in the Valley. And then we ended up doing a lot of work over the country for HUD, doing housing and things like that. And on a smaller scale, we would do a single-family home here and there and things like that. And then look at us today. We are residential designers because of today's boom in our economy. So what I'd like what we always start with, and I think they both had mentioned this, is we like to get to know our clients and really do a deep dive in who you are, what your home means to you, what your lifestyle is, because all of that is so important to starting this new chapter and building a new home. And we get a lot of people that will come in and say, you know, I liked what I had before and I just want what I had before. But remember, you might have bought that house 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, your needs were different. You had a small family, you know, you had all these ambitions, you know. We didn't have, I tell my kids, my grandkids, they can't even understand how fantastic the fax machine was when it came out. And who even uses that now? You know what I mean? This whole thing with the phone, when the phone started out, we didn't have texting, we didn't have, you know, I know that you like what you had, but let's think about really how we are living today, you know? So I also want to say, begin understanding who you are, you know? All of that, what's your personality, and that's what we as designers need to know from you so we can actually get this house to be what it needs to be for you. So that you know, so when you come in, you want to, after this traumatic event, come home and, you know, I'm done. You don't want to say, you know, I got it, but, you know, it's too bad the kitchen still doesn't have. I wish that I had put the laundry inside instead of me having to go out to the back of the garage because that's where it was, and I didn't think I was entitled to. You know, so let's not think like that. I also ask my clients to start by just giving us the whole blue sky vision. You know, it's not a time for you to be ashamed. If you always wanted a cathedral ceiling, let's just go ahead and put it out there. I mean, everything that you thought you ever wanted, let's just put it out there, put it on the table. I think it's your responsibility to put in words what you want, and it's our responsibility as your professional to make it work in the reality that you exist in. And that's where we blossom. So you wanted the gorgeous ceilings, and you wanted the big bathrooms, and you wanted the marble floors, and then we come in and we say, okay, this is your budget, this is your site, this is your reality, and this is your future. And we get it right-sized for you. And I really think, I think that's a gift. I think that's our special power. Because once we understand who you are and what your lifestyle is, we can take all of that and try and make it work so that that feeling that you were looking for is achieved. So that by the time you get the key and you walk in and you've spent the last 2 years, we want you to be satisfied with what you have and be willing to, now you're excited to hand this down to the next generation or sell this at the top of the market, because we want to know that too. Is the end goal to sell this? Is the end goal to hand this to your children? Is the end goal to live and then donate this to, all of that we need to know, because that impacts how we design and how we furnish and that whole thing. So let's think about that. I want you to feel comfortable discussing with your professional all those things that you already have and you want to bring with you. I mean, some of us, like he said, we live practically around the corner. And so I remember when we bought this house, I remember thinking, you know, Charles, I don't want to live above Loma Alta, because it's not enough streets to get out in the event of the fire, you know. And I could never live in this section of town because there's only one road to get out, and I can't get out of there if, you know, if it's earthquake, whatever, I can't get out. And so we had all of this stuff. So if I smelled even someone's barbecue, it's like, oh my gosh, is it, you know, where's the passports? Where's the such and such? So we had the whole thing. So that day I remember going home at 6 o'clock to get something because the power was out, and I smelled smoke, but I didn't see smoke. And it was already in my mind, okay, passports, and then you go to such and such, and then you do the such and such, and we'll go to blah, blah, blah. And so when we were at the gym and we looked out the window, we saw the fire, and we came home, it was just autopilot, boom, 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 toss this in, toss that in, da, 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 all this stuff. But it was so dark, I forgot some of the cool things. But for some of you, you got out of the house with some of these significant pieces. If they mean that much to you, your designer needs to know, because we need to showcase that. You know, it's a shame in some cases where I find out after the fact that you have all this artwork that you never mentioned, and we don't have any walls to put that artwork in because you wanted the open plan house, you know, and those kind of things. And so you don't get a chance to really showcase and bring those pieces with you. So think about that. There's a lot of us have moved into temporary homes, and you've bought furnishings that you know that are significant to you. Those pieces we need to know about, because if you're doing a living room and you already have large-scale furnishings, for instance, large-scale sofa, or you've already bought, we had a client who waited till we finished drawing the plan to tell us he's getting a piano, a grand piano. There was like no room for this grand piano. It's something I wish you had mentioned. So now we got to go back to the drawing board to make room for. I didn't even know they liked music like that. I didn't know they could play music like that. And so all of that's in the back of your head, or maybe you think, oh, it'll fit. It'll fit better if we knew. You know, so those kind of things, just go ahead and let us know. But also be open to replacing some of that stuff. You know, sometimes people will buy just, oh my gosh, some of the kookiest stuff, and they're so attached to it, and it's like, what? I don't get it. I don't understand. You know, and then you insist that we bring it into this new building, and once it's in there, okay, maybe I should have listened to you. You know, so it's just be flexible, because how you're feeling at this moment may not be what you're feeling like 12 months from now. And so I decided, as an example, that since I didn't have any clothes, I'm only going to get the clothes that really speak to who Linnell is today. You know, and people were donating. In fact, this dress I got on now, and they want, you know, and your heart goes out because they really came from such a beautiful place. But it's like, is that me really? You know, do I want to take that into my next chapter with me? And so, boop, I give you permission to let that go. You know, you may not be that person that was 2 months ago that bought that coffee table. You know, that you sent that picture from Pinterest to your architect. That exterior doesn't speak to you.
Linnell does not liking what you guys have picked. Let's just clear it out. She is not liking what you got.
But what I do want you to do is you like what you got. It's just so important that what you're doing, you have a once in a lifetime opportunity to redefine who you are, no holds barred. Let's just take that opportunity and do what we want. You know, those ceilings, those windows, the color scheme, and if it doesn't work, we change it. You know, the finishes. But let's not be so firm in some of these ideas of ours on what it means, or we don't want to let our neighbor dictate what our house should look like, or our kids who, you know, come by
a couple times a year dictate how many bedrooms we should have because, you know, those kind of things, this is a selfish time and it's okay, you know? So, let's see. I wanted to touch on some of the fun things that our clients are doing that I find very interesting, that the features that everyone seems to have.
An additional bathroom.
Everybody has added powder room. I mean, and because at the time when a lot of our houses were built, we had one bathroom, you know, and so that's so interesting. Kitchens, some people are wanting the whole open concept, but what I'm hearing also is they also want the ability to close that space. And so we're doing a lot of sliding doors that close that kitchen off so that, you know, if you're cooking in there or you're having a party in the living room, but the rest of the family is not in the party and they just want to go in the kitchen and microwave some popcorn, they don't have to be on, you know, on show. So I find that interesting.
Just kind of like a pocket door.
Right, right, so that you have the capacity to, the flexible spaces. Right now we're open, right now we're closed. And so we're working on a lot of that. Pantries. Everybody needs pantry. And I find that so fascinating, you know. Even if it's just, we're gonna do wall, floor and ceiling cabinets, but the kitchen storage is really important. Laundry spaces, and we're adding them near the bedrooms. That I find is fascinating because a lot of people had laundry rooms outside or on the porch or in the garage, and they want them inside the house. We're seeing a lot of porches. I find it fascinating that since, and I really attribute this to COVID, and then the sense of community that we found because of the fires, is that people want to be able to engage with their neighbors, you know, very intentionally. So we're adding porches to the front yard, you know, to the backyard, exterior spaces off the master bedrooms. That's becoming very important. I'm seeing on the two-story homes that there's an ensuite, a master bath, or what do we call it? It used to be mother-in-law units downstairs and upstairs. So that, because people are thinking, you know what, at some point, I'm not gonna wanna climb those stairs, and I need a bathroom attached to a decent size bedroom downstairs. We're doing a lot of that. Everybody's throwing in an ADU. I mean, since they said you can get another 1,200 square feet, let me tell you, if there's one thing, everyone's got an ADU squeezed in there somewhere. But what we're also seeing is a lot of elevators. And what a lot of our people are doing is they're asking us to make space for the elevator that they can add later. And so what we're doing is a lot of spaces where, a lot of spaces and features that they want to plan for now, but build later. So like they'll say, okay, you know what, I want an ADU, and I want you to plan for the ADU, but I don't have the money to build the ADU. So let's get the ADU through plan check, and I'll work on the finance, how that's gonna come up later. Sometimes the kids are covering it for the parents, sometimes the kids are moving in and they're gonna take care of it, and sometimes, whatever the case is, we've got a lot of that where people are saying, okay, I want you to plan for this feature so that it's, and we'll tell them, we wanna get it structured, have everything in place so that when the money comes along, when the interest comes along, or even if you sell your house, it's all, you can always say, you know what, there was room to add a second story, it's already been covered, the drawings are already done, it's just ready. And so,
That's a good point about the elevator. It could be a two-story house, or it could be just one level for a wheelchair access.
exactly,
Yeah.
because our house, it's only one story, but it's a bunch of stairs and a couple switchbacks to get there. And I thought, you know what, that 20 feet, that's a lot. And so we looked into, and we're adding in an exterior lift to get us from the garage up to that level. And those kinds of things, again, that's part of the aging in place. And sometimes it's just for comfort. But those things are what we're building into a lot of our plans, and it's really nice to see. It's just really nice to see. So, the last thing I like to say is don't forget the exterior. Now, we're not landscape architects, but it's kind of a shame when we as design professionals do all that on the house, and then, you know, no one has thought about what's going on outside. So let's leave a little money in your budget if you can for the exterior, the landscaping, the curb appeal and all of that, being able to use that outdoor kitchen, which is very popular too. So those kinds of things. And as I like to mention, just in passing, there's what we're doing in design is building to protect your home through fire as best as we can. So it's so important to understand that there's no such thing as fireproof. And I think sometimes people think that we're able to do this magic that will prevent your home from burning completely. But what we're doing is slowing down the process so that you can get out safely, so we can cut down on the amount of damage and the fatalities, but we'll never be at a position to design so that someone's house is never going to catch fire. And I have a lot of people that ask me, well, is it wise for us to build where there's a potential of the house burning down? And what I like to remind people is, and they'll get upset with us being in Altadena for having the audacity to want to stay, and build again, is though we're creating this problem, but a lot of our fires are man-made, so it's not that, there's no place we can protect ourselves from our own human element. And the way the embers were coming, and the way the strength of that wind, someone's wallet's on the ground, the strength of that wind, there was really, if that fire had started down at crypto.com arena, there's very little that someone could have done to stop that then. And so what we have to remember is we're building, and people are hyper-focused right now on building toward the fire, but I liked how you guys mentioned, what about the earthquake? Okay, so now we're building for the fire, and then here comes the earthquake, and just like what happened on this fire, which I thought was so incredibly fascinating, I hadn't even thought about it, is that it rained, and there was a house in Sierra Madre that was spared from the fire, but then the mudslide, okay, so now we're doing the fire, we've got the earthquake, okay, what about the rain and mudslide? What about the wind? So we're doing as best as we can to cover everything, but there's still, nothing's 100% is what I want to say. And it's best for, in addition to us being prepared in the design, we need to be prepared in the evacuation and the protocol in the event of emergency, so, yeah. But there you go.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I just have one statement there. You mentioned outside landscaping, and I haven't been up on Canyon Crest off of Lincoln, obviously in years, because I took a drive up there yesterday and I didn't realize it had been so long. But in front of like 4 or 5 houses, they had an orchard, fruit trees in the front, gardens in the front, whatnot. You couldn't even see their house. So that was great to see.
It is nice. It's beautiful.
We do have a bonus guest for all of you guys, so we got very, very lucky. We had these architects, we have these designers, and the question is how does a designer interact with your builders? So I said, well, I guess we need an outstanding builder. So we're very lucky to have Zvi Forkosh from former Rebuild Group to discuss what it's like to have a design build firm.
Hi, everybody. Like all my colleagues mentioned here before, and Freddie, I'm a big believer in togetherness. And my part, I think my part here is the easiest. Yeah, just to execute. Once you guys figuring out your financials and you're sitting down with the architects, we're putting everything in the paper. We're going through plan checking. We're sitting, we're exploring all the options. And like, we'll surprise you guys. Like you mentioned, Freddie, if we need to fight for lumber cost, cement, windows, roof materials, stuff like that, I want you guys to aim for the skies, like Lynette mentioned. Once we get everything together, I believe we can execute everything for you guys.
How much conflict do you have between architects and builders? I mean, is there a constant push and pull?
Yeah, there is always a conflict. That's when, yeah, we collaborated because for me it's easier once I know my architect and engineer and all the structurals. It's easier for, not to have any issues in the way, in between. Like you said, I don't want to come with change orders throughout the project. Once everything is lined up, we're just going on the road, boom, boom, boom. Jump the freeway till the end. Once you lay everything down as far as fixtures, finished materials, rough materials, we're setting up the boundaries, then shouldn't be any problems.
What's the difference between a design build firm and when a resident has their architect that they like and give you architect plans? Is it more complex, or how's that work out?
To me, it's more complex because, again, I can blame the architect. The architect can blame me for all those changes and price increases. Once everything is, we're sitting together with the client and under one table and everything is lined up, there is no questions anymore. Like Lynette said, if you want to do like the induction or fireplaces or marble floors or Andersen windows or metal roof, then everything has to be cleared ahead of time. We cannot start the project and then the lady says, hey, I want to do marble bathroom or hardwood floors, and then the price will fluctuate.
Do some builders have like expertise? I mean, is someone who's used to building Spanish homes the right builder to build a modern home?
Shouldn't be any change between as far as construction. Once you get all the items lined up, and the foundation, footings, framing, finishes, should be a very easy process. The hard part is to come up with finances, design, architectural, and to execute. Again, in my portion is very easy part. I just follow direction, like Waze. One story, 2 story, 2 story. For me, it's, again, as a builder, contractor, very easy.
Well, I noticed that when we have the architects, designers, they can speak for hours. Every time I had a contractor on,
they refer you back to the
they refer me back.
Look at page. It says it right there.
All right, anyone got questions for this fine gentleman? Anyone got questions for this incredible panel? Oh, we do.
Well, a friend of mine and I were on Alta in Glen Rose yesterday, and he does a lot of rehab and whatnot. He noticed that this house was framed out with 2x8s, not 2x4s. And the guy was going, and then they had a tall attic, and then maybe step up on the other side. So 2x8s, not 2x4s. That's more expensive.
Correct.
And
But
it
if
looked like the foundation was a poured foundation, frame, not block. So we were trying to wonder if the owner of the property was building it for himself, or was that a contractor building it for a spec house? And
Could be.
why the 2x8s, not 2x4s?
So that, again, I'm referring back to the plans. It says everything over there. It lined up. It's gonna tell me exactly if I need to use 2x6s, 2x8, 1x, plywood, shear walls, all those stuff. It's all, again, there is no, shouldn't be any trouble.
We got a trick question for every builder who's spoken so far. What's the difference between a cellar and a basement? Do you know?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, we will keep asking every builder till we get the answer.
One is one.
Yeah, I like it. You guys want to know the answer? Here's the answer.
So the answer is a basement, I don't need it. A basement is 50% or more above grade.
Okay.
And when you go for planning, the square footage of a basement is included in the square footage that they're calculating, particularly when you're going for
okay.
like for like. A cellar is more than 50% below grade.
I see.
And the square footage of a cellar is not included when you're going to planning. However, when you go to the assessor's office, both are assessed.
Oh,
Now,
really?
and
come?
probably at different prices, but the cellar is assessed at a what is it called? Not a
Non-living space.
Non-habitable.
Right.
That means we're going to build a lot of cellars in Altadena.
But remember that if there's 1 foot, that doesn't matter to the homeowner.
Correct.
Go for the cellar,
Instead
not
of
the basement.
the basement.
Because it could save a lot of money
Absolutely.
and time
Wow.
and who knows what else.
We said something told us last week.
Well,
I gotta
beg
get
pardon?
back to
You're going to
Crosstown.
have more trouble with moisture in a cellar.
Well, it depends.
Yeah,
I mean,
waterproofing.
If it's only a foot difference.
Oh, good point. 50%. I can't get that through my head.
Right,
Okay.
so, you know, if it's.
You're talking about grade. You've got those little cellar
Exactly.
windows.
Right, now where we are, we don't have moisture,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have moisture in 100 years.
I worked in the
Not this year.
sub-basement labs at Caltech on campus in Pasadena, and they were probably 12-foot ceilings, so I was at least 24 feet below the ground, and there was no water, no window.
Ooh, microbiologist?
No, aerodynamics, combustion.
We got a question? Got a question?
I'll keep asking questions. So, for the contractor, when do you meet the architect? At what stage in the plan? And B, how many bids do you give for one house? Say, you say, okay, this is if you go low end, mid end, high end? Are there 3 bids?
Okay, once you guys design the plans and the finished materials got selected, then I come into the place and we can decide, the price will be according to your selection. Foundation framing won't change.
Right.
It's gonna
Like
be,
windows, those are big.
exactly, windows, roofing, flooring, finishes on the outside, stucco versus hardy siding, solar panel, no solar panel, ready. There is a lot of fixtures that we have to price in versus if you want to do basic, you get a price. So on one house, I can do 3 bids, like you said, medium, low, high. But I come into the after the plans are RTI.
Oh, you do, okay.
Yeah.
But to me, there's 2 ways. You can do standard, put it out to bid, right?
Mhm.
And typically pick the lowest bid, right?
Correct.
And then you have that. Or you can do true design build, with a dash between them, which I've done a lot for schools, where you're with the contractor, you have you'd have to pick a trusted contractor, and let's say a trusted architect, and you work together from the get-go. And that can be great, because I might be Mr. CMU, and you might say, hey, we can't get that, we got to
Correct.
do lumber now.
Stick
and you
frame.
find that out early, but you don't have the chance to go out for like the lowest bid. So to me, that's a really great way to work, and that's becoming much more popular. Is that kind of what you all do, right?
That's design and build.
Yeah.
So when a design build team works together, the contractor and architectural design team meet throughout the process several times at big, milestone kind of moments, not every design meeting. And everybody puts in their perspective on how to keep things within budget. There's always a budget. A 20-foot door would be a custom one versus a 16-foot door would be an off-the-shelf, type product maybe. That's a way to save $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on something that wouldn't make a big difference to your space at the end of the day. So having a team of design, build, a designer and a contractor work together from the beginning ends up not necessarily being less expensive, but you know upfront what you're committing to. You're not gonna have any surprises at the end of the process after everything has been designed, engineered, approved, and then the budget comes into play and you realize you can't really afford what you selected or what was drawn and approved for you. So there are advantages to it. It's not the only way to work, but it's a better way to work.
Yeah, so I've heard of scenarios where the architects, they can design anything, right, and everything that you want. But on the developer side, it might be impossible to construct what the architects have designed. So how do you resolve that?
Like she mentioned, we're gonna meet throughout the design process several times to make sure.
But let's say that I have not selected my builder yet.
Okay.
So the builder and the architects can't meet yet.
Well, if you get a building permit.
If you get the
it's gonna
permit,
be
it means it can be constructed.
Yeah.
If you got the RTI ready to issue and you went through planning, engineering, architectural with somebody else, doesn't have to be design and built. It means I can construct it.
So once the permit is issued, it
Done
should be
deal.
any issues.
Yeah, it might be expensive, but it
Yeah, maybe it's gonna be
buildable.
correct.
Right.
Maybe the pitches, the elevations are gonna be very expensive, but we can construct everything.
This question for the architects. So, the planning commission now has this self-certification for architects. How do you all feel about that versus putting it through the normal process, applying for the self-certification standard and doing it yourself? Is there any liability issue with that?
Yes, there is. So let's say me doing that from my house, I'm good with that. But I would pretty much, it seems antithetical, but I would want something I designed for someone else, for you, to go through proper permitting and be done now, let's say more safely.
It's called lawsuits.
Yeah, I can get more insurance, but
will architects face, if people do it that way, will architects face a liability issue if they self-certify?
That hasn't been tested yet, but I think there's a lot of possibility of that happening, yeah. That makes me nervous as an architect.
Thank you.
Better be a good question. It might be the last one. You guys are good? Or is there a comment? Statement.
I mean, not a statement, question.
A summary.
Basement, cellar, or just a foundation? How do you go about waterproofing that?
Okay,
I mean,
if it's a slab on
New
grade,
Jersey
you don't.
went from, they did some tar way back in the day.
So cellar and basement, they require to do waterproofing with drainage, everything listed on the plans. And depends again, if you do slab on grade or raised foundation, you might not need it.
And you get a soils report
Yeah,
for the
soils
area
report.
where you are.
That's
and
it.
They'll let you know if you have water in your soil, and then maybe you do need a layer of rigid exterior insulation along the
Correct.
the shoring wall. So it really varies.
Lagging,
quite a
it
bit.
varies. For me, I go by the plans.
Yeah, there are several
Yeah.
ways to waterproof a basement,
Mhm.
any underground structure, whatever the definition is, and then insulating it for whatever temperature, is
Moist.
comfortable, and then, so it's a combination of the outside water resistance and then additional on the inside, and obviously just proper drainage around the building so water doesn't come towards it. Just away is half the work. That as long as the moisture is already by gravity is away from the building, there is less likelihood that the water will seep in and then through the walls.
Hi, I just have one question. So if you're going to start to build, are there any requirements by any of you that the soil is not toxic? I mean, if we're going to build and we want to know that, do you guys need to know that?
I would, that's not my area of expertise, I would say. But I think that's an issue, right? No one's gonna certify like you are good to go. It's still ambiguous.
So right now, there's free soil testing. Take some samples. Get up to grocery outlet. There's a box right when you walk in there. USC and UCLA are currently doing soil testing for you, so at least you can know. I would try to do different bags, some in your garden area, some in your front yard, some in your back, because, you know, not all the soil could be contaminated in different parts.
Up in your house will be less contaminated than down in your house.
Yeah, we were talking about fire resistant, how to make, less prone to fire. I don't know if anybody's looked at Christmas Tree Lane. The deodaras are like 70, 80 feet tall. And it goes for 7, 8 tenths of a mile. Very few homes along that stretch burned down. And when we came back up on the 8th in the morning, we thought for sure every deodara tree was going to be gone because they're evergreens. And nothing goes up like a Christmas tree. And there were branches built off of them, but that was about it. Not a single one was touched by fire, and I have to wonder if they didn't block a lot of the embers, and the embers would have just dropped straight down onto the street, whatever, into that area, and block that wind from coming through and being so damaging on a lot of the other properties. So, we had a ficus tree in our front yard, and it was growing like a weed, so we cut it down pretty much right after the fire. And I'm considering putting a deodar in the front yard. We got a couple across the street from us also, about 40 feet away from us, that are huge. And found out that they are kind of a fire retardant material, which is interesting. It comes from the Himalayas originally. But anyway, just food for thought. I mean, I don't know why that whole stretch did not burn down untouched.
I have across the street is a landscape architect friend named Wynn Wilson, and she's really into this. And I just know she says that a lot more trees survive than one would think. Let's put it that way. And I don't know if she's willing to go that far that say they helped houses not burn, but they did something. There's like something going on, and it's not clear, but it's not what people that know arborists would have thought. So I think that's something worth. Somebody should really study that.
I saw an article somewhere that discussed exactly that point, that the large trees served as windbreaks, and they dropped the embers.
Yeah.
And the deodars in our neighborhood survived as well. The big oaks survived,
Yeah.
unless they were over a house. And the way I interpret it is, the trees, with some exceptions, were the victims of houses burning under them. The houses ignited the trees, not the other way around.
Well, I want to thank this incredible panel. We learned a lot. We really appreciate you guys taking your time. You guys are an absolute amazing. I'm glad you guys keep coming back for more. We'll be back Tuesday. Yeah, we decided that we're going to continue this until you guys want me to stop.